are you? How the heck are you? How the heck are you?
We're going to do a podcast.
So let's get a little deeper into your story, shall we? Who are you?
That becomes a sticky wicket.
Let's get back on track. What is it that you're curious about?
We could run the world.
Like, let's crumble up some falafel for you.
Boom, 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 boom. It's been a whirlwind for you. What is it that supercharges you about this? Lots going on, lots coming up. Or is that too many stuff? Did I ask too many questions?
No, not too many questions.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Mind Your Own Business, the Chamber Podcast. I'm Moe Belliveau. I'm the Executive Director of the Easthampton Chamber of Commerce. And this is where I get to talk to local business folks, chamber members, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and we get to find out who they are, what they do, and why they do it. I want to take a minute to thank our partners in this project, Media, which is formerly known as Easthampton Media. I'd like to thank especially Jeff Mastriani, who is the Executive Director, Ryan Arnold, Production Coordinator, and Tim Riley, Operations Manager. They are the ones that make us sound and look fabulous, so thank you to them. Today's guest for episode 3 is the owner of Corsello's Butcheria and lover of the slow food movement, Vincent Corsello. Vincent has a great story on how he got started with his love affair with local food and the local food movement. And we welcome you, Vincent. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am great.
Fantastic.
Excellent. So let's just dive right into it, shall we? And maybe you can help us learn a little bit about Vincent Corsello, who he was prior to coming to or starting Corsello Butcheria. What's your story?
Fantastic. Wow, it's a pretty diverse story.
It is, and it's an interesting story, and I love the story.
It goes in a lot of directions. I've reinvented myself many times.
Yes, you have.
It's been a long time now. It's been, 17 years ago. I decided I was in pharmaceutical sales, and I decided to.
I don't know why I thought it was tech, but now that you say pharmaceuticals,
that was another one.
Oh, okay, that's why.
Yeah. So I decided I'm Sicilian descent and very close to those roots, and I wanted to see what it would be like to. I wanted to learn the language, learn the culture of what Italian was like real Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to move to Italy. I thought initially Sicily might be a little bit of a culture shock for this little American boy from Chicago, and so I chose Rome, thinking it as a the eternal city.
You chose Rome, or Rome chose you?
I guess Rome chose me in the end, right? Yeah, absolutely. So I went. I quit my job, and I went to Rome.
Oh, wow.
And
just like that.
With the intention of learning the language, staying for maybe a year, something like this, and ended up staying for 7 years.
Wow.
In retrospect, it turns out that Sicily is a little more cosmopolitan, and Rome is pretty provincial, but it's still, a 2,600-year-old city. So
right.
There's every step there was something to learn or see or experience. Yeah. So I was there for 7 years, and in the meantime, in order to support myself, I ended up through language, teaching people English. I got a job as a project manager in the supply chain sector of energy, oil and gas. Yeah. And so I went there, and I worked there, and that allowed me to stay for 7 years.
Right.
I had also, in the meantime, had applied, in order to stay there, I had applied to be recognized as an Italian citizen, and I was, and so, everything was set.
Were you born in Italy?
No, I wasn't born in Italy.
Okay.
And it was.
But you had the heritage.
But it was the heritage.
Yeah.
I just had to prove that.
Yeah.
Prove that nobody who was in America had actually kind of relinquished or renounced their Italian citizenship.
Right.
And thank goodness nobody had.
Okay.
And so
I had
dual citizenship. And then, so that happened. In the meantime, Casey, my wife, she came to visit me about a year into that experience, and we fell for each other. And she came and she quit her job, which wasn't. We knew each other from pharmaceuticals, and she moved there.
That's crazy.
And then we had
I
our
never would
daughter
have guessed
there.
Casey was in pharmaceuticals either. That like blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a great job. Although I didn't really like the politics around it, let's say.
Yep.
And neither did the doctors, right? So, so I moved on from that. And like I said, I got into project management it was like the software sector, right? So software that creates,
that's where it comes.
logistics and stuff like that. And so I had a great time. I got to go to work every day and speak Italian.
Yeah.
And, I was the translator and I was the project manager, and it was pretty heavy stuff, as far as moving the boats around with crude oil and where to put them and stuff like that. So it was exciting stuff. And in the meantime, in my personal life, we lived in a nice, it was little, but it was really nice for what is available in Rome, in Testaccio, in the neighborhood of Testaccio, which is still a very authentically like Italian Roman, like you still hear people yelling out the window, "Mama," and "Oh," and just really authentically Italian
neighborhood.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we went to the market, and Casey actually tells that story really well about how we met our butchers, and
I was wondering what sparked all of that. What was that? So you were in the market. I didn't mean to interrupt you, and you.
Yeah, so
came
we were looking to make some dinner for some Italian friends, and we wanted to make we didn't want to make anything that resembled Italian because they're very particular about their food, And so we wanted some chicken, some boneless like chicken cutlets, and we met the Sartor family, and they and Roberta, which was the mother, she was like, "Oh, you want chicken?" And she started cutting them, and it was absolutely stunning, right?
Right.
And then in the meantime, you had this case, with all these different things that I'd never seen before, or in a format that I'd never seen before,
right?
And so it was incredible, it was incredible, right? Like the raw materials were incredible quality, and
the smells, the sounds,
and just the connection and the experience, it wasn't our only kind of social thing, but it was a very social event to go to the market.
So
right?
was it an indoor market? Was it like, when you say market, I think of like a farmer's open air kind of market? Yeah,
it was open air.
Oh,
they
wow.
had stalls.
So there was
They've since moved into a much more modern facility.
Brick and mortar?
That it's still open, but they have the kind of the modern, let's call it the modern like facilities, right?
Yeah.
Like running water
and
and roofs over the food and stuff like this. So it's a beautiful market, though. You have butchers,
it's a total experience.
You have 5 butchers there, and you have different stalls, and you have it's a true market, and you can buy shoes there, you can buy clothes there, you can buy household goods, you can buy dry goods. Everybody has their own kind of specialty. You can buy beef tenderloin. Yeah, exactly. And so we went there every chance we got, particularly to buy our fruits and vegetables, which was another group, but then also to buy our meat.
Right.
Yeah. And so we had this experience of not only just buying, but also learning. Right? They would tell us. I'd be like, "What's that?" And they'd be like, "This is oxtail." And I'd say, "What? How do you cook this?" And they would give me the whole thing of what I needed to do from beginning to end. And so we would go and we would make it, and we'd be like, "Wow, this is really good." And so that was our life,
Nice.
the Italian culture is very food oriented.
Yeah.
But what we found too was that it was very simple, right? There wasn't a lot of work, a lot of ingredients and stuff like that. So we did that, and then we had our first child there, Camila. She was born on Isla Tiberina, which is like it's been a hospital since ancient times.
Oh, wow.
And it was just, and so we had this experience.
That's an experience.
Yeah. And we had a childbirthing experience in another country.
Right.
And that was something else. And then we were there for another, about 3 years. And then like she was pregnant with Cristiano. And we started to say to ourselves, even though I had a job, I had a very stable job and stuff, it was just, we didn't have any family there,
right.
and we had a great support system, but we were also a little bit like, how are we going to do this with
right.
2 children in a place that neither of us have roots?
Right. Well, that's a tough thing to having babies in another country without your family. I think of my mom.
Yeah.
She was married to my dad at 19 and. Off to Japan because my father was in the Navy, and I was born in Japan.
Oh, okay.
But she was all by herself. She had, didn't have her mom, didn't have any of that support system,
right.
and talk about a different culture.
Yeah.
It was like, so I understand. That's got to be.
Yeah.
Hard.
It's hard.
You can do it, but it's hard.
Yeah. And the economics.
And your heart, wants to be with family.
Right. Family's important. Connection is important. And we had a lot of connections, but, like I said, there was also the economics of it. It was a situation where we decided, let's go back
so you come back
to the
home.
U.S. Yeah, we come back home. I actually managed to get a transfer with this company I was with, and then in the meantime, I got and we were going to live in the Boston area, and then, but I ended up getting another job with a different company that allowed me to work from home. And Casey grew
COVID.
up in
awesome.
Greenfield.
Yep.
And so we were like, why not? So she had actually lived here in Easthampton above Antonio's,
nice.
in the apartment up there and I actually stayed there, and so I knew Easthampton and stuff, and so we were like, let's go for Easthampton. And
nice. Well, we're glad you're here.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So you're back in the States now. Did you? When were you struck with this? Like, oh my gosh! Because when we met, you came into my office, and I'll never forget it. You were very calm, as you are now, because you tend to be that way, I feel like. But I could feel your passion. We clicked right away, and I got your language, and you had this idea of opening and starting a butcheria.
I forgot that I had come.
Oh,
and
I'll
see
never
you.
forget it. I will never forget it, and it was wonderful. And I was like, oh my God, but and so you're back in the States, but had you already been bitten by that A, entrepreneurial thing, and B, the butchering thing, and the meat piece of all of this.
So it was really, so I loved shopping at the market.
I can't even imagine.
And I loved the whole experience in Italy of particularly of eating, and just
I always love
that
the
whole
experience of eating.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? Right?
I don't know.
Right?
But
I mean, and our cultures are are connected. Like part of it is around the eating and the cooking and the spending time together. Like if you think about all the holidays, the biggest ones like Thanksgiving in this country and then Christmas and all over the world, like those are 2 big ones where people, sometimes people get things ordered in and stuff, but mostly people are cooking, right?
Yeah.
They're cooking it at, and that's the whole experience, right?
Right.
And so we were, to say the least, a little dismayed at the having to come back and kind of like, we had to either go to a farmer's market, which was once a week in places that were, or, and then when we did buy, particularly meat, but in general, you had to buy either it frozen in a vacuum sealed thing, right? Or you had to buy like a freezer full,
right?
To. Yeah. And so we were just, we were searching. We went to a few places that people were like, oh, check out this place. This will be like that. And nothing really,
it's a different
they might
thing.
have a counter and they might
Different
be able to,
thing,
but
yeah.
it's a different thing. And then the quality was a real,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to find good quality food.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started to realize that the food system here is really a wreck, if I put it mildly, right? And so we were a little dismayed, but we found ways, like everybody does who has that as a priority. You grow some of your own food, you find people who are growing it and
Yeah.
putting it together, and you
Yeah.
buy it. You take advantage of the farmers markets or whatever whenever.
But something happened to you. Something happened to you because you don't just decide to become a butcher and open a butcher shop. And you were committed.
Yeah.
You were committed. When I met you, you were committed.
Yeah.
This is what I'm
that
doing.
That was at that point.
This is what I'm doing. And I was like,
we
wow.
had gone through, so we had always talked about this. Like, I was always like, yeah, I'd love to open up a butcher shop. And I had all kinds of little ideas of kind of to delve into it without like kind of giving up my job, and stuff like that. Because it was a good paying job,
Yeah, I hear ya.
There was,
Yeah.
and we,
Yeah.
and we went through, we got invited to participate in this kind of, it's called, it's like a transformational, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like a seminar, like and we went through this, and what it really was about the ultimate premise of it was, a be do have, like, so envision, like have a vision and declare that vision, but don't be attached to what that looks like, the result, right? And so we had gone through that, and I wasn't really happy with my job. Like being a project manager, it's great. I think project management is generally like kind of seen as like an administrative thing, and in some companies it is. It's solely that, And so in this company, it was boring, and then working from home, really. And so I wasn't really happy in the job, and I started to think about, how could I open up this butcher shop? So I had this as an idea. It was too scary to even consider, right?
It's huge.
Like it's a big deal. In fact, I still I wouldn't do it any differently. But
you're like, whoa, what did I do?
But the way I did it and what I did and the complete, talk about a transformation. I'm a white collared, like pencil pusher, essentially,
right.
not executive, but like an executive pay, like really well paid, to like, blue collar entrepreneur, having to deal with everything, CEO and bottle washer, just, and I just, but what happened was, so in this transformation, you kind of like, the idea is that if you declare it and you have a vision, the universe shifts itself to make these things happen, right? Yeah. And that's ultimately what happened for me, Yeah. And so I actually got laid off of this job, right? Like right after I finished this program, like it was like, boom, I got laid off, and we were just like, what are we gonna do? And we were just like, well, we'll just have to get another job. And then like it became apparent to me that like I didn't really like that.
Right.
I didn't really want to work for a corporation anymore.
Yep.
I'd done it all my life, whether it was through pharmaceuticals or through like, I used to sell copiers in the very beginning. And, like I just didn't want that life anymore.
Sure.
And so I actually, the company who laid me off had actually signed us up for there's a group that helps you find jobs,
sure,
but it also helps you kind of market yourself,
sure,
and all these things. And they had these little seminars, and we talked to this group, this one guy who would actually, he was doing franchising. And I went up to him after the meeting and I said, you don't have any butcher franchises, do you?
Right.
And he says, no, I don't. He said, but my wife works for a company that converts 401ks, that you can actually use your 401k and create your own 401k that funds your business.
Wow.
And you can do whatever you want. And so that was like random, right? I didn't even know that existed and stuff like that, And so everything worked out. And then, so I called up the guys, and my wife was like, she had just come out of this transformation, and she was just like, let's do it.
Wow.
Like she was just like, do it. If it's what you want to do, do it.
Right.
And so, we have a newborn son, and well, actually he was a little older by then, but we have a young children, and
Yep.
a nice house, and mortgage and everything else. But we decided to do it. And so I called up the Sartor family. I called up Mauro, which is he's retired now, although he works there on Saturdays, I think. But because I was closer with him, but at the time anyway. And I said, I want to open up a butcher shop. What do you think? And he said, well, then why don't you come over here and train with us?
Oh my God.
And I was just like, really? You do that? And he was like, yeah, I mean, I have to talk to Daniele, who's his son.
Yeah.
But yeah, why not?
Oh my God.
And so I
what
talked
a
to
gift.
Daniele. Yes, exactly. Right. The
Oh my
universe
God, what a
opening up.
Yes.
Right. And so that's what I did.
Wow.
I called him up. We made arrangements. My wife, again, like she had all this stuff going on, and I had no job, and I went to Italy for a summer.
Wow.
Like I just left, and she was here with the kids, and
wow. What a gift from her too.
Yeah.
The universe was aligned for you, my friend.
I guess it was, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, you go and you do that.
Yeah.
And you come back.
I meet you.
Yeah.
You point me to some real estate or
Folks.
to some people.
Yep, spaces.
Yeah.
And now you're in your space and you're like standing there and it's empty.
Yeah, it was dingy and dirty, but I will say that I saw, like when you have a vision,
of course you do.
You can turn any space into a beautiful space,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. And so you're standing there, and were you, like when you first walked in there, did you say to yourself, "Oh my God, what have I done?" Or were you like, "Yes"?
Yeah, no, it was more like,
Yes.
Oh my God, what have I done?
Like crap at the moment,
came
but
3 months after I opened, right?
Right. Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
So okay, so then you're off and running. You renovate and you open.
Yeah, we open.
And it's what? And it's like, it's not like you're that is not a small ticket item. Opening up your shop, you've got a cold room. Mm-hmm. You've got your cooking equipment that you do. You've got smoking. You smoke some things and smoke meats. You don't like smoke meats, but you smoke
things.
Right, smoke things like bacon and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And so,
we make all our stuff in house.
Right, and so there's that. There's the regulatory kind of way you need to set up. It's not an easy undertaking. It's a small space, but it's a big deal.
Right.
Right.
It's a big deal. It's everything that everybody has to do it, whether you're small or large.
Right.
And it's a lot of, and it was a lot of learning, right? Because I'd never really worked in the food, space.
So was there ever a moment while you're renovating your space and you're like, oh God, I don't know I shouldn't have done this? Did you ever have a moment?
When I was renovating, not so much.
Okay, good.
Everything seemed pretty reasonable, but that was another thing too. You mentioned about like the regulatory and stuff,
refrigeration
and I had
this
to
and that.
I had to deal with obviously in renovating I had to deal with a building inspector. I had to deal with inspectors,
health department, all that kind of stuff.
Health department,
Yep.
so all these inspections, all these things. What I learned was that again, the universe kind of like I had a lot of help from those folks too. Like they want me to succeed, right? It was a different health director at the time, but she was excited for me, so she told me what I needed to do. She was open to things that maybe were a little less,
helped you get to where you needed to go.
Orthodox,
helped you where you needed to go.
Yeah, she helped me, and she like we worked together about like I was like, well, can I do this? And she's like, well, it's supposed to be, the law says it needs to be a flat, washable surface, and so that's a flat washable surface, then okay.
There you go.
That kind of thing.
Yep.
So I had a lot of help there, and then like, so that always went with me, and that was really, that is like for me in entrepreneurship and in any kind of endeavor or project you take on, the key is to connect with the people, right? that in anything you're doing, there's a person in front of you, you know,
Yep.
whether it's, you know, and that's the, you know, that goes along with my philosophy is that, and one of my, what I call it, the 5 pillars of my, of Corsello Butcheria is connection, right?
Yep.
And that to me is the most important thing.
Yep.
And that's the reason I opened it up,
Yes.
right? Was to connect with people. And so in order to do that, I got to do that in all areas. And so instead of seeing like regulators as adversaries or as blocks or
Right.
whatever, you know, you see them as
Right.
as public servants, which is what they are, right?
Right.
You know, and so
See them for who they
you
are,
know,
human
yeah,
beings.
and then ultimately as humans, right?
Yeah.
Like
Love that.
we live in the same community. We're part of this community. You know, you want me to succeed and I want you to succeed,
Yeah.
you know, like I want people to be safe and I want
Right.
buildings to be safe and
Right.
stuff like that. So you know, you kind of
Yeah.
do all that. And so, I mean, that's ultimately one of the biggest things I learned in it was that, you know, we're all just a bunch of humans
Right.
kind of getting along.
Just
right?
trying to do the best we can with what we got.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
everybody's got, it's what they got is different.
Right.
So
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So I remember the ribbon cutting. I'll
Yeah.
never forget the look on your face when you cut the ribbon. It was awesome. You get that look on your face, and your family was there. It was lovely. So now you've been in business almost a little over 5 years, right?
Yeah. 5.5 years, October.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think is the what is the juice? You know, after 5 years, like in the beginning, it's new. You're
Yeah.
learning, and we never stopped learning. But in the beginning, it was a lot of learning, right? So you're probably traveling around. with
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, a lot of creativity,
a lot of adrenaline
yeah.
going. But what is the juice for you that gets you up every morning and keeps it exciting? Keeps it. You want to keep going.
Yeah.
You want to. You know, you're not getting up in the morning saying, "Well, I'm ready to shut." I mean, I'm sure there's days, but you know, in
Right,
general, you're
right.
like, "This is my thing."
Right.
And I'm bringing this high quality food to my community.
Yeah.
And what I love also from the very get go, because it appeals that this whole thing just makes my heart sing anyway. But I can go in and I say, Vincent, I'm having my holiday dinner, you know, my Christmas dinner for my family, and I've got this giant spoon roast, and you walked me right through the whole thing, and it was perfect. It was perfect. It was perfect. My turkey the same way. As a matter of fact, I had everybody at the table, and they were like, my God, we need to take a picture of this. This should be like in a magazine. And that's because you walked me through what I needed to do. It was awesome. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that is the juice, right?
Oh,
like,
good.
Like I'm looking, like the overall thing is that, you know, I want to transform this food system, right? You
It's
know,
a big job.
It's a big job, and I don't have to transform all of it, and I don't have to do it alone.
Nope.
And I don't have to, you know, like it's not all or nothing, right?
Right, but
like
you're doing
we
your
just
thing.
we just move it, you know, move the needle, and that is exciting. And a part of that transforming is the helping people know what to do, because
Right.
you know, a lot of people, they don't, you know, it's not any fault of theirs, and it's not any kind of, but people are not connected to their food,
Right.
in ways that is very you know, like new, let's say, because, you know, as humans, that's what allows our cultures to grow or decline is food, right?
Right.
But you know, like that is the juice for me, is that, you know, when somebody comes in and they're just like, you know, I want to cook something, but I don't know anything about it.
Right.
And to be able, and then when they come back, you know, and they say, this was great.
Yeah.
You know, and you know,
Beyond
and I'm
great.
able to say, you know, well, yeah, some of that was, you know, they're like, thanks for telling me, you know, and I'm like, you know, some of that is your technique and what you did, but some of it is the quality that like, it's so easy when you start with quality
Right.
food to make it great,
Right.
you know, without a lot of techniques or
Right.
other ingredients and stuff.
You know what I find, what I always feel is like an adventure. As you know, I'm a farmer, and we grow vegetables and things, but, you know, not everything is ripe at the same time,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So learning to be nimble, a nimble enough cook so that you can deal with what you have, what is ready. So the same thing walking into your shop. You know, like I may have a thing in my mind that I want, but yet for whatever the reason, maybe you've sold out, or maybe it's the, whatever the timing, the season. But I can share with you, look, this is what I would like to do. And you always come up with another suggestion. Anybody who's ever worked for you has never steered me wrong. And I love that. So to be able to adapt to what is going on.
That's what it's about, right?
Right, because that's what it is in the real world. It's not like you can just walk in and get strawberries, in February. Well, you can.
Well, you can,
but
and
you
they
can't.
taste like garbage.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's really the, what I said earlier about like have a vision, but don't be attached to the result.
Right, that's same thing.
That's in cooking too, right?
Yep.
Like.
Yeah.
And we're much happier that way, right? Because we're using our creative things, and cooking doesn't become a drudgery. It becomes an adventure, right?
And it becomes a way that you're nurturing and nourishing your friends and family. Right. I'm going to cry because there's nothing more beautiful than creating a meal for those that you care about.
Yeah.
Or sharing a meal with, even folks that you don't know.
Right.
To have that first meal with somebody, then the whole thing changed. Everything just flows from there.
Yeah, especially if you or them have contributed with it. Right.
It's gorgeous thing. So I'm wondering too. So you talk about community, and your connections, and I know that you and the shop are very generous and connected to what you do in the community. Are there certain things that are more important to you, or do you try to just be open and do what you can when you can? And why is that important to you?
Yeah, well, so one of the biggest things in what I found from a business point of view has been, in any community you have people who aren't necessarily watching their food dollars, and then you have people who they have a hard time, and so the perception is often that some people can't partake in what I'm offering because it's too expensive or it's too and so an area where I really like to, besides the kind of the standard, like during the pandemic, we actually we bought an animal from Josh Porter, and he gave us a break on it as well. And then we butchered it up. We turned it all into ground beef, and then we worked with the community center and created a little pasta dinner with ground beef, and
nice.
Robin had the tomatoes and the pasta, and we did something like that for folks.
That's beautiful.
And they could anybody could come and pick that up. You didn't have to be part of the the regular thing, or you didn't have to be. And so
that's gorgeous.
So that was fun, and I had a lot of had a lot of help with that, and that was fun and nice, and I'd like to do more of that.
Right.
But also just from a kind of a practical point of view, the person in front of me, we take like the EBT.
Yep.
And so that helps.
Yep.
And then also just teaching about people, because clearly, like a lot of people they're getting enough food or enough calories, right? They're just not necessarily getting the right calories, right? In
densely nutrition. Nutritionally dense
nutrient stuff, and even our meat compared to like other meat, I would say that it's much more flavor and it's much more nutrient dense and stuff. And so, when people are like, oh well, it costs twice as much as whatever, and I say, yeah, but you only need half. The meat isn't supposed to be the it is maybe sometimes the centerpiece, but the centerpiece doesn't take up the whole table, right? Like it's a very important. So, like in a general sense, I'm trying to like teach people to be more self-sufficient and be able to make something just fantastic, very, very economically, without a lot of, and then without a lot of having to buy like processed food, right? So that's really a passion of mine. I mean, we also in the community, like we get a lot of folks, looking for some support and stuff, and so we do that wherever we can.
Yep.
And then we sponsor teams,
Sweet.
and it used to be that it would be my kids' team. I'd be like, can my kid be on that team?
Right,
Or
right.
can we sponsor the team that Cristiano's on?
Yeah, of
or Camila's
course.
on? And then one year, it was not that long ago, they were both just like, we don't want to be on the Corsello team.
Oh.
We're tired of, we don't want to be on the Corsello team. So then I was like, okay, that's fine. So, but we still, we
Right.
still support it. And even if they're not in those sports, we still support it.
Yeah.
And so
That's
that's
sweet.
fun. And it's really encouraging too, because, you get to see the results of it, right? Like, I think there's a meme going on Facebook that talks about Walmart's never going to sponsor your baseball team and
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And it's so true, right?
Right.
And we just sponsored a soccer team, and the father came in with his daughter, and she had her shirt on, and I hadn't seen the shirt yet, and he said, "Thank you for sponsoring the team," and stuff like that. And
that's
so
wonderful.
so it's just really
That makes you feel full.
yeah. I mean, it's really authentic, like community, right?
yeah.
And
Taking care of our people.
yeah. So
And those little kids having so much fun.
right,
They need that.
right, yeah,
Right?
Of course they do.
So what area do you consider yourself, Vincent, to be an expert?
Well, I would say the food system, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a real expert in that. I mean, I wasn't 5 years ago, but I'm not the expert or the best expert, but
Right.
probably for Easthampton, I'm probably the expert
Right.
in butchery,
Right.
right? And then also not only just how to cut it up, but then what you can do with it.
Right.
Right. I mean,
You know what
not
I
to
love?
take anything away from people who are professionally trained on cooking,
Right,
chefs and
right,
stuff.
right.
But
Well,
yeah,
You know
like
what I
I'm
love is when you started doing your little videos on this is what you can do.
yes,
And this is how
yes.
easy
and
it is.
I've been through a period where we were a little short staffed, and so I
Yeah.
haven't been able to do that stuff or
I know.
had any desire to do that stuff. I get home from
Right.
work and I'm like,
Well, you were going
no,
through
thank
this
you.
issue, right?
Yeah.
So now you're not.
Now I'm not, and so I hope to do more of that. And
Yeah.
we do have a YouTube channel that has a lot of those things on there. They're not just hidden away somewhere on the posts and Facebook, but
Right.
we put that stuff on YouTube.
I love it.
And then we're going to redo our website to make that a little more like interactive
Mm-hmm.
and we actually even we bought a new scale, and we have a little QVC code that
Yeah.
you're going to be able to scan it, that item,
Oh.
and then the recipe or the blog or the whatever around that
I love that.
will show up, So
That's awesome. That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I wanted to do
Innovative.
it for years, and then the pandemic hit, and
Right. But it's perfect.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
need that.
Yeah,
We need a little...
people need education.
Yeah. Well, and it's just nice to like you said, when many times I'll come in and I'll buy something that's kind of, that's not in my repertoire
Yeah,
purposely,
yeah,
and you or whomever's working at the counter will be able to tell me what I can do with it and how it would be the most tasty and successful. And I love that. It's like an adventure.
yeah. Yeah.
Food adventure. What is it about your particular expertise that you wished other people knew but probably don't?
About me?
About you and your expertise.
Yeah, I saw that question. And well, I was just, I mean, not to kind of beat a dead horse, but,
Yeah.
that you can come in and you don't have to have all the answers.
Right. We can help you.
We can help you, and
Yeah.
that's okay
Yep.
if you don't know anything, and there's
I
no
don't think that's-
stupid questions.
It's not beating
you
a
know?
dead horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, just the idea of like, that's what I do. That's what I love to do.
I know you do.
That's my best part of my job. That's what
I
I'm
know.
best at is
Best part of your day.
Is when someone comes in and says, I'm having a dinner party with my boss and I want to do something nice, and and I'm like,
Or
You know.
I want a really good informal, casual, peasant style plate of scrumptiousness.
Yeah, I want something authentically,
Yes.
I don't know much about outside of kind of the Italian sphere, but
Right, well, that's
I feel like
not what you're bringing to us. You're bringing us the...
right. But I also feel like Italian food is, if there's one characteristic of it, aside from the Italian American red sauce
Version,
and
yep.
meatballs and sausages, is the simplicity of it.
Yes.
Right. So you can just come in like
Few
last
ingredients
night.
that
My
are
wife made we were like, what are we having for dinner? And she was like, I don't know. And I was just like, well, why don't I just bring home some sausages? And she says, okay, I'll make mashed potatoes. And then while she was getting it all ready, I pulled the sauerkraut out that I had made, and then she was just like, "Can I fry this with the oil that that was left over from the sausage?" I was like, "Yeah." And then, so it was this whole it looked more Bavarian than anything, but it was fantastic,
Yeah.
And we ate, we were full. And
I have to tell you, some of my favorite Italian food is Bavarian.
Yeah.
Südtirol. Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Southern Tyrol. So
Uh-huh.
it's northern Italy and Austria and Germany. So all of those things come together.
Yeah.
Wow. Love it. What's the best business advice you've ever gotten?
So the best business advice has been was something that I've only recently appreciated, but it was look at your numbers, and understand where you're spinning your wheels and where you're
Coming and going,
where you're getting your revenue from.
Yep.
It's very boring. I don't like the business side of business.
Yeah, but we have to pay attention to that.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to dot every T and cross
No.
every, and you don't have to bring everything to the last penny.
No, but you need to know what's coming and going.
But you need to know, what are your biggest sellers? What are your how much that costs to make? Are you because I spent a lot of time in the interest of and I succeeded in that goal, which was to not waste things, right? Like we use everything, right?
I know.
But then also to realize that maybe you don't need that much ham. Maybe you just turn that into trim to make sausage because because the ham is a big deal,
Right.
And
Well, you even,
and a lot of steps and a lot of
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you do bone broth.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
is huge
Right,
nutritional value.
Right. And that's a great no-brainer,
Right.
kind of thing. But like I said, just looking at the numbers and sometimes they shock,
Yeah.
I've never been super warm to the idea of being a sandwich shop.
I know.
But then recently I looked at my things and, because we needed to make a little shift, especially since the pandemic
Yep.
has ended. Well, not ended, but, things are a little bit more to normal.
Yeah.
And I looked and I was shocked at how much was
People liked it.
our sandwiches,
Mm-hmm.
how much of our revenue. Sandwiches are a lot more work and a lot more complex, but so based on that, we decided to kind of embrace that side
I'm
of our
glad you
business,
did.
And so it's not at the expense of any other aspect, but it's definitely like
Right.
something. So, people have probably seen, we've had some posts about some sandwiches.
Yeah, I
that are
make sure I
offered
share
every
them.
day and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that. I appreciate that.
I know. I make
Yeah.
sure that I do
Yeah.
because it's
and
people
that's the
need to know.
community thing too, right?
Right.
But we got a lot of traction from that, and then also yeah. So that's the biggest piece, is just kind of just take a look at your numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it nearly enough, and that's to my
But you do it.
detriment. But I do it, and then I'm ever more looking forward to it, because then we can see where that
And where's another opportunity?
Yes, exactly, another opportunity.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a really good clue seeking,
Uh-huh.
place to find the other opportunity.
Right.
The next opportunity.
The next opportunity. And then it also, along with that, a good piece of advice is also to know that you're not going to be everything to everybody.
That's
I learned
exactly
that on
true.
my own. Nobody really told me that, but I kind of was just I used to be up for anything, and then I realized that's a complete like, sorry, I mean, I know that your childhood, butcher experience was that you did this, but,
Right.
I've just,
Right.
I can't do it for you.
Right. Right. And that's, I think, it's a little bit of wisdom, right, that we gain over time. And we can't, the sooner I think we learn that we can't be everything to everybody, the less stress in our lives we have, right? I find that even in my work.
Right.
Right. And you know how much I try and I want to, but I can't.
No.
So I need to focus on what our mission is and what your mission is. And it's so much better. I know it has to be that way.
Yeah.
What is your current, forget about COVID, but what's the biggest challenge you have ahead of you right now?
My biggest challenge getting ahead of me right now is to, so we're expanding.
I know, you just took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. And that's going to be a real challenge, just finding the time. Although I'm really excited. We have a most of our team is new, and but we have a really great group of folks. Like they're awesome, and
nice.
That goes also along with the connection. Like not just connecting with your customers, but connecting with your people that you work for, right, or that work for you, and I have an absolutely fantastic team. Like I'm really excited. Like,
good for you.
They're just yeah. They're good folks. They each have a very very strong piece that
adds to the whole.
There's not a ton of overlap on that, and so they amongst themselves, but me from here, I can see, like, I'm just like, I don't care if this person can't do that, they can do this.
Right. Exactly.
And
well, you're building to their strengths.
Yeah. And so, but that being said, the challenge will be having this other place, because I, like it or not, I can't clone myself.
Right.
And I'm the face of Corsello Butcheria. Now,
Right.
that may change a little bit, and that's a good thing.
So you're open, right, in the new spot, or no?
No. We just it's over in Gasoline Alley. We should have been open last year about this time, or at least thinking about it.
Right.
And then we needed a new sewer line in.
Oh, I see. Yep.
To do what we were doing, and
it's a big deal,
because it's a whole new step. It's not a whole new. It's not a. I'm not doing this on my own, which I would never really want to do on my own again. It's a collaborative. It's called the Food Brewed Collaborative.
Yeah.
And it's a group of folks. There's a Nosh Bakery and Urban Artisan Farms.
Oh, wow.
And, so we got the bakery side of it. We got Urban Artisan Farm does like local like produce and products. And even we're going to have a greenhouse on the top of the building.
Oh, wow.
To do stuff.
And then arugula?
Yeah, arugula, lots of arugula. And then Monsoon Roastery.
Oh, yeah.
And, and then another fellow, his name's Jamie. I don't know what he's calling himself yet, but he makes like freeze-dried stuff. So he's going to take like our food or soups. They've even done it with coffee and then freeze-dries it. And then you have like an MRE or a meal ready to eat or like instant soups and stuff like that.
Backpacking.
Yeah. And we can also preserve that stuff, right? And in some cases, not in all cases,
vacuum seal it and
away
you go.
We can preserve it and use it, later on. And so it's going to be a cafe market. Oh,
wow.
And it's really exciting, and I'm going to be able to focus on the meat. They'll be doing the sandwiches and stuff, but they'll be using my products and their products.
Sweet.
To serve in the cafe.
Right.
And then, in theory, a person can come in and like, I really love that sandwich. Can I get some bread and some roast beef like that?
Right.
And
yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. So, but the challenge will be kind of spreading out, right? But,
right.
like, I'm just going to have to take it as it goes, right?
Absolutely. It sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I think we're not going to talk about COVID.
Let's stop talking about COVID.
We're putting COVID behind us as of today.
Yeah.
We're done with that.
Right.
All righty.
That's great.
So
I will say, though, that on the COVID side, like everyone else, we had to pivot.
Absolutely.
For me, it was a little easier because I really always wanted to be in the selling food for you to take home and cook.
Right.
And we got that in COVID, and
Right.
it allowed us to, kind of, to
Yeah.
get our stuff together doing that.
Nice.
And then now that's why we're going into the sandwiches and stuff, because
Yeah.
people are going back to that kind of like not cooking at home. They don't have time,
Your
that type of thing.
CSA. Your little packages.
Oh, yeah. The meat shares.
Meat
yeah.
shares. That's what it is. I love that.
Yeah.
And you still have that available.
We still
right?
have those available,
Yeah.
and we're looking to make those a little more subscription based and
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. Right now, you order it, and then 3 days later,
You pick it up.
it's ready.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Fresh. Custom for you.
Yeah, that's fun. We have some
And that was a result
diehards on those, and
that was a result of COVID.
that was something I wanted to do.
But it was accelerated.
And then suddenly, literally, I was like, in this spring, I'm going to do this. And then COVID hit, and then I was just like, I had to kind of throw it together.
Yeah.
And so
it was wonderful.
it was.
It was wonderful. I loved it.
It is great, especially for those who have a CSA with a vegetable farm, because they can just combine those things.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So, is there anything else that you might want the world to know about Vincent Corsello and or Corsello Butcheria before we close out today that we didn't hit? Some burning fact? Something that you're offering?
yeah, you're asking me. You always ask me for a doozy, and I don't have doozies. You put me on the spot.
That's
all the time.
okay.
You're like, what's new? And I get nervous.
Whoa.
I'm like, what's new?
What's new?
I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Gasoline Alley's new.
Yeah.
Gasoline
Yeah.
Alley's new. Your meat
Yeah.
shares were kind of new.
Yeah.
You've got and your sandwiches.
No, I
So
know. It's
you
just
got
it's just
stuff.
me, babe. But what I do want, I think that is important, is that like in a world of kind of in a world of less and less connection, like you can count on it at Corsello Butcheria, right? Like you can count on
Hugely.
on dignity and respect and I hate the word down to earth, but you know what I'm talking about, like and so
For you and your food.
yeah. And so if you come in, and whether you want a sandwich, or whether you want, like a nice cut of meat, like you can come in, and if you don't know anything about it, it's okay. It's okay.
It's a full range butcheria. You have beef, chicken, you have pork.
Yeah.
You have lamb when it's in season.
We have lamb.
Fish, I think you have too now.
And yeah, we've had fish. We'll probably bring that back a little more.
From is it Berkshire?
Yeah, it was Berkshire that
Yep.
we got that.
Cheese.
And then we have cheese.
And dried
We
meats.
make a lot of our own, like charcuterie
Yes.
items. Like we make our own roast beef and ham.
All in
And
house. Sausage.
Yeah. The
Yum.
sausage is all made from like we literally like. I'll give you an example, and a big thing right now. A lot of people, because of a TV show that's been out, become aware of Italian beef, and I've had Italian beef since I opened.
I know.
And I've brought it here to the Valley, and so now I think I'm going to have a sign made say the original Italian beef from in the Valley, right?
Yeah.
And but I cut those rounds off of these animals, and I roast them, and it's truly a farm to table experience, right? I get my animals from
Absolutely.
local farms.
Yep.
And in particular, Josh Porter at Porter Family Farm has just like been phenomenal for me, and so it's not just Vincent Corsello creating this, right?
No.
Like the community has created it, and the community has helped me to create it.
Yeah.
And that goes along with the connection. So, the next time you're shopping for food, whether it's with me or with anyone else, just think about what that is, what's in front of you, and who's under what conditions and who has touched that food.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's near and dear to my heart, as you know. Thank you, Vincent Corsello.
Yeah, thank you.
Of Corsello
Thank you.
Butcheria.
It's an honor to be here. And
I'm
I
thrilled that
appreciate
you are,
having me.
and we will talk to you soon. And before we wrap it up, I want to make sure that we thank once again E-Media. We're here in their fabulous new studio. It's always fun and wonderful to work with them. And please make sure you can get this podcast anywhere that you get your podcast. You can listen, you can view, you can listen on iPod, or I think it's iPodcast, it's Spotify, anywhere you get that sort of thing. If you want to watch, you can watch on the Easthampton Chamber YouTube channel or the E-Media YouTube channel. You can get Easthampton Media or E-Media at easthamptonmedia.org. Same thing for the Chamber, the easthamptonchamber.org. Smash the like button, share this out to all your friends and loved ones, and subscribe. And until next time, go shopping over at Corsello Butcheria. Peace out, baby. Okay.